Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to be talking about UFC Baku, Jamahal Hill versus Khalil Rountree. And my friends, it's going down this Saturday afternoon live at the Baku Crystal Hall in Baku, Azerbaijan. We got the former champion Jamahal Sweet Dreams Hill trying to regain form against the very dangerous Khalil Rountree, one of the most violent men in the entire sport. So hell of a main event. The co-main event is fire with Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Rafael Fiziez in Fiziez's home country. So let's not waste any time, my friends. Let's get right down to business. Because in this main event, we got the former champion Jamahal Hill. He's 12-3, taking on Khalil Rountree, who's 13-6 currently. They got it. Khalil Rountree minus 120. The comeback on Jamahal Hill is plus 100. So Khalil Rountree, interestingly enough, is the older man by 1 year at 35 years old. Jamahal has a near 80-inch reach to Khalil Rountree's 76.5-inch reach. Jamahal Hill is going to be 3 inches taller on paper. So unbelievable main event in Azerbaijan. Baku, man, I can't wait for this one. So Khalil Rountree, one thing about him is I know from time to time he's been kind of hit or miss, but man, at his best, he is one of the most violent fighters in UFC history. I mean, just go back to that fight he had on the Ultimate Fighter when he was soccer kicking dudes, to the Paul Craig knockout, the Eric Anders beatdown, what he did to Carl Roberson's knee. I mean, the way he sent Anthony Smith flying across the octagon, doing the kind of dance that we haven't seen since Saturday Night Live. So when Khalil's on his game, oh my God, he's not just a force to be reckoned with, but like fighters might not ever come back the same after spending 15 minutes or less in the octagon with Khalil Rountree. But on the other side of things with Khalil Rountree is sometimes he's been a little hit or miss, right? And I don't know if it's a mental thing or what the deal is, but like you'd think a guy as scary and as dangerous and as potent as Khalil Rountree, like even on your worst day, you ain't losing to a guy like Marcin Prachnio, right? So like when Marcin Prachnio is able to out-volume you, that kind of gives me pause, because on the other side, the opponent of Khalil Rountree is Jamahal Hill, who at his peak had the most exceptional output and volume in the history of the division. And that's not an opinion, that's simply a fact. Now, the issue with Jamahal is that he's been riddled with serious injuries. And I'm not talking about, oh, he sprained his pinky. And I'm not downplaying that at all. I know how much that hurts. But I'm saying, like, this guy ruptured his Achilles. Okay. And then he had some knee issues after that, too. Like, those are the kind of things where athletes might not ever come back the same. And it's just unfortunate. Like, the sports medicine and science is making big leaps, but it just hasn't caught up to where it needs to be to make not just fighters, but all athletes return to either their prime form or even surpass it after an Achilles rupture. Now, in Jamahal Hill's case, so far, he hasn't come back the same. Now I will say, to his credit, the Alex Pereira fight, I don't think he was looking bad in that fight by any means. I think there was a weird little thing with the ref and he got caught and it was what it was. But up until then, I don't think he was looking bad by any means. But the Yuri fight, I had a lot of concerns. When I saw Jamahal out there with 2 knee braces, I'm not going to lie, that broke my heart, because the talent this guy has. Like, when you just look at his physique in the Jimmy Crute fight and the Glover Teixeira fight, I mean, the form he was in there, and then compare it to the Yuri fight where he's got a little bit more, he's a little heavier around the midsection, 2 knee braces, like I said. And even with that being said, he still looked like a top 10 guy, even in that version of himself. Now, hey, a top 10 guy, that's an amazing thing. It's just that in Jamal's best form, he's the best light heavyweight on planet Earth. We've never seen output numbers like the ones he produces. And also his toughness is truly something to behold. And that might be a factor here, because with Khalil, he has a lot of incredible front running capabilities, or, I mean, just that Muay Thai technique, those kicks, those knees in the clinch. His hands are so fast. The way he sets up that rear hand, oh my God, man. The way he covers distance. It's just, like I said, Khalil is one of the most dangerous men to ever grace the octagon. But with Jamal, what's truly exceptional about him, you know, I know people make fun of his physique, but it kind of reminds me of like that, like Patrick Mahomes physique, in the sense that like he kind of has that unassuming body type where you think like, yeah, this guy ain't athletic. But then you go out there and you see how they perform at their best. And like Jamal at his best, the numbers he put up against Glover are the most numbers that anyone's ever put up in any light heavyweight fight. And we're talking about a division that John Jones ruled for over 10 years. So for Jamal, it's about getting back to where he once was, or at least a glimpse of that, right? And I know that Achilles injuries are career enders, but I also know that although the modern technology and the medicine and all that, the science hasn't caught up to where they can make full recoveries, I still expect a better version of Hill this time than against Yuri. And even in that Yuri fight, like I said, a compromised Hill, 2 knee braces, a little bit heavier than usual. That was still a hell of a fight, man. That was still a very, very high level fight. So like I said, I still think Jamal's a top 10 guy. It's just, how do we get Jamal back to being the best guy in the weight class? Because I truly believe when he's on top of his game, no one beats him. And that's just the bottom line. So the way I kind of think this fight's going to play out is, I think Khalil's extremely dangerous in the early going. I really do. I think he's going to be getting off on big kicks, and I think he's going to be trying to swing big bombs. But the thing about it is, his style requires a lot of energy, and he does kind of wear down as fights progress. And I'm not just talking about that Alex Poatan fight, but you've seen it throughout Khalil's career. You know, it comes out hot, but man, if you can start to slow him down a bit, because everything he throws is with vicious intent, 100% effort, and 100% power. So that's naturally going to fatigue you a bit. Whereas with Jamal, it's more output. Now, there is power. Don't get me wrong. Of course, you've seen how he launched Johnny Walker. You've seen how he launched Jimmy Crute. You see how, I mean, I thought he should have got a 3rd round TKO against Glover, but the bottom line was, look how he treated him, right? So I think that if Jamal can tap into that confidence and that form and get back to that insane output, look, the early going is going to be sketchy. And that is going to be sketchy. That's just the bottom line. Khalil is that dangerous, but I think that Jamal can start to wear him down as the fight progresses. And with 5 rounds to work, I think that, again, this is assuming that we get some kind of far cry of the Jamahal Hill that I was saying was the best light heavyweight on planet Earth. Now, obviously things have changed, but if you can tap into any form of that, I think he can have a masterful performance here. It's just, can we trust him to get to that form again? There's a chance he'll never be that guy ever again, but there's also a chance that, hey, you've had enough time since the injury. You have actually been staying active, which is crazy. And it's just admirable that, like, Jamal wanted to make one of those like historic turnarounds where, like, people say not just fighters, but athletes will never come back the same from Achilles tears. But this guy's like, fuck it, I'm gonna come back. I'll come back quicker than they expect me to. You know, he wants to make history. So you got to respect the ambition. But yeah, until I see him in there, I can't confidently say what his form's going to look like. But what I can say is, at dog odds, I might be willing to take a 1-unit shot, because the best version of Jamal, I think, schools Khalil. I really do. Now, the not best version of Jamal might get caught here, but that's why I don't want to overexpose myself at the betting window. But at dog odds, I still want to see this is a buy low spot. It is a step down in competition from Alex and from Yuri. And let's see if we can tap into some version of the Jamal that we once knew and loved, because like I said, I think that guy is the best light heavyweight on planet Earth. So yeah, I'm gonna go Jamal here. Again, the confidence level a little bit lower, because we just got to see if he can ever be that guy again. But if he can, I think he schools Khalil. So I'm gonna want to get involved on a 1-unit risk. You know, not go crazy, because there are a lot of questions, but I still think there's value at these odds, and it's not like we're out here laying -170 on it to find out either. So yeah, I'm gonna go Jamahal Hill in the main event. I'd love to see him return to form, that confidence, the volume, the arsenal of strikes, man. That step through knee, that straight left. He switches stances. Like, he literally does everything I like in a fighter. It's just that we gotta heal from these injuries, because the one he had was serious. And I'll shout out to Khalil. I love his current form. He's such a scary individual. He can knock anyone out, so you can't count him out. But again, he's the favorite here, right? And it is a step up in competition, and it's a step down for Jamal on paper. We'll see how it actually plays out. But yeah, I'm gonna go Jamal here to hopefully regain form and remind people why this was someone that not only touched gold before, but was kind of robbed of a reign because of an Achilles tear. So I'd like to see Jamal get back to it and get back in the mix. And for Khalil, if Khalil stops that, all respect to you, man, because your career turnaround has been nothing short of amazing either. Co-main event of the evening in the lightweight division, we got Rafael Fiziez. He's 12-4, taking on Ignacio Bahamondes, who's 17-5. Currently, they got it Ignacio Bahamondes minus 130. The comeback on Rafael Fiziez is plus 110. So Rafael Fiziez is 5 years older at 32. Ignacio's 27. Ignacio 6'3" to Rafael Fiziez 5'8", and it appears as though Ignacio is going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in this spot. So another amazing one, because Ignacio, when he first came into the UFC, man, I had such high expectations for him. And a lot of people hold that Makdessi fight against him. I'm not one of those people. I mean, when you're 23 years old and you're in there with, it's your debut, you're in there with such a seasoned, battle-tested vet, I mean, you're going to get a vet lesson from time to time, but it's been 5 years. This guy's about to be 28 now. He's entering his prime, and the talent's always been there. I love his combinations. I love his confidence in his striking. His chin is absolutely ridiculous. He's rounding out his game. He's hard to take down. He's hard to hold down. If you do take him down, now he's attacking subs off his back. And there's so much to like about Ignacio Bahamondes, his fighting spirit. But on the other side, with Rafael Fiziez, man, he's so technical. He's so fast twitch. He's so fun to watch. And like every Rafael Fiziez fight is one of the best fights of the night. My kind of issue with Fiziez is that I think in the Gamrot fight, well, I know in the Gamrot fight, because I bet Gamrot there, Fiziez suffered a major injury. And I'm not sure if he'll ever return the same, because the thing with Fiziez is that he's one of these fast twitch guys. I mean, you see him go in the matrix when he dodges those head kicks, and you see the explosiveness and the speed that he operates with. But I think that he's slowing down a bit, because those knee surgeries, especially when you're a fast twitch guy, that's like the worst thing that can happen for you. And then I hear him talking about how like he's thinking about dropping to 45s. I don't like hearing that, especially against a 6'3" lightweight that you're about to fight. So honestly, the way I see it playing out is I see Fiziez getting off to a great start like he normally does. I mean, in that first round, he's hell on wheels, but these fast twitch guys, especially when you throw 100% to every shot, you're going to slow down as the fight progresses. And slowing down against Ignacio Bahamondes is a recipe for disaster. He's going to start to pick you apart. He's going to start to get off on his combinations, mix it up. He's a confidence-based fighter. And when it starts to snowball into something positive, look out. And especially with Fiziez. And I got to talk a little bit about Fiziez. I think people are saying this is a y'all must have forgot type spot. I don't think Fiziez was ever really that guy. I mean, I think that Fiziez had a nice little run where, yeah, he beat Moicano, who we know Moicano's got no chin and not the best stand-up. And we also know Moicano is kind of on his way out too. And the Bobby Green fight, where a lot of people thought it was very sketchy towards the end of that fight. And again, Bobby Green, I'm a huge fan, but like Bobby Green's almost 40, man. And like this was Fiziez's like peak. Now he's coming off 3 straight losses. He's clearly not a top guy, and he's dealing with injuries. He's talking about dropping to 45s. So I disagree with people saying this is a y'all must have forgot. We must have forgot what? No one forgot that Fiziez is explosive and can strike. No one forgot that. But no one also forgot that Fiziez is a one-round fighter. And people might say that's overblown. Yeah, fake news. Tell me when he's looked better in the later rounds than the earlier rounds. You can't, because there's no examples of that. And also, like I said, people bringing up Ignacio's fight against Makdessi when he was 23. Like, why are you doing that? Like, he's almost 28 now. That's like me bringing up Rafael Fiziez getting spinning back kick to the face against Magomed Mustafayev early in his career. Guys, people take setbacks. These are fighters. This is a long journey. So I don't hold that kind of stuff against them. But what I think is going to happen here is, I think, like I said, first round, Fiziez, fast twitch, explosive, get off on some calf kicks, some shots upstairs. But he's going to have to close a lot of distance to get in on a guy like Ignacio, who's 6'3" with the range he has. And I think that's going to fatigue Fiziez. And we've seen Fiziez fatigued badly in multiple fights. And against Ignacio, that's not the place you want to be. So I'm actually going to go Ignacio here to come out here, get the biggest win of his career, keep climbing up the rankings, and show that he's a possible contender, man. Like I said, you guys got to put context into things. If you're going to talk about the Makdessi fight, that's fine, but at least bring up that he was like 23 making his debut. Then he like missed weight. He wasn't even all the way locked in. Now he's entering prime form. So it's not the same guy. And I know someone's gonna be like, you didn't bring up the Ludovic Klein fight. Is Fiziez gonna come out here and wrestle against Bahamondes? I highly doubt it. So to me, hey, shout out Ludovic Klein, but that's a different matchup than this. And I think that Ignacio's catching Fiziez at an incredible time. And for that reason, I'm picking Ignacio to win this fight, and I'm considering moving in on a bet at some point. Featured bout in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Curtis Blaydes. He's 18-5, taking on Rizvan Kuniev, who's 13-2-1. Currently, they got it. Curtis Blaydes minus 260. The comeback on Rizvan Kuniev is plus 220. Both men 6'4". Blaydes is 34, Kuniev 32. Blaydes is going to have an 80-inch reach compared to Rizvan Kuniev's 76-inch reach. So they've been trying to book this fight a few times now. And for those that don't know, Rizvan Kuniev, the former he's actually not the former PFL champ because I think he tested positive, but he beat the former PFL champ, Renan Ferreira, the guy that fought Francis, and it was very dominant. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the physique of Kuniev. You know, he looked incredible against Renan Ferreira. Then he comes on Contender Series. He looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy. But like that being said, he's still a very skilled guy. It's just the questions of it being your debut. You're fighting such an experienced guy. But that being said, this experienced guy, Blaydes, for whatever reason, people have this insanely dumb narrative about how like, oh, if Ngannou wasn't around, Blaydes would be the champion. That's like saying if Kamaru wasn't around, Colby would be the champion. Like, what? Like, seriously? Like no, he would not be the champion if if Ngannou wasn't around, because Tom Aspinall, Sergey Pavlovich, all the other guys that have destroyed him along the way, Derek Lewis, like, come on, man. And then from time to time, Blaydes will surprise you still, like the Almeida fight, but I kind of felt like that was a stunt on Almeida's part. Almeida was dominating the majority of that fight, and then the second round shoots a desperation shot and eats a couple Travis Brown elbows and is ready to go home. But that being said, I just don't know much about Kuniev, but what I do know is I love the people he trains with in terms of like very high level Russians. He's well rounded. So yeah, it's a step up. Curtis Blaydes has been there, but like Curtis Blaydes is an ultimate letdown. Curtis Blaydes, yeah, he's talented, but when you want him to strike, he wrestles. When you want him to wrestle, he strikes. Like you hear him talk, you're like, oh, now it makes sense. You know what I'm saying, man? But I just don't know much about Kuniev in terms of how things will translate at this level. So it's a tough one for me to call. It's also interesting how like they rebooked it for Azerbaijan. Like at first it was in the States. Curtis got sick. Oh yeah, you want to get sick? Well, now you got to fly halfway across the world and fight this guy. So I really don't know. I'm actually going to lean with the dog here, but it's not a confident pick by any means. It's just that like I am not a Curtis Blaydes believer, and I'm not someone that trusts Curtis Blaydes, and that's just the bottom line. And with Kuniev, I don't know much, but when I'm this like on the fence about a fight, and one's what odds are we talking here, my friends? And one's a +2 something dog. Let's go with the +200 something dog, guys. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Myktybek Orolbai. He's 13-2, taking on Tofiq Musayev, who's 22-5, making his UFC debut. Currently, they got it Myktybek Orolbai -165. The comeback on Tofiq Musayev is +145. Both men 5'10". Musayev making his debut at 35 years old. So, man, he is going to be 8 years older than Myktybek Orolbai in this spot. But I want to say something. Musayev is one of these guys that hasn't just paid dues, has paid extreme dues. And one might even make the argument that he came into the UFC. It's been like a little overdue, man. I mean, because this guy's like big run was 2017, 2018, 2019. Like he was running through guys overseas, like devastating knockouts. And it's just unfortunate that he didn't come into the UFC earlier. But yeah, this guy's paid all the requisite dues to be here in the UFC. And with Myktybek Orolbai, I got a lot of respect for this guy. He's a killer. He's, man, like you look at him, he's like a Neanderthal. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean that like you hit him with your hardest shot, and like, yeah, you might get dropped, but he's still going to be there. Like you have to put this guy out. This guy, he does not take no for an answer. He's almost like a robot. He's so physical too. But my issue in terms of not an issue in terms of being a fan, but just issue in terms of being a betting man with Myktybek Orolbai is that he's way overconfident in his chin and his striking defense. And he likes to go to absolute war with everyone he fights. So that's kind of scary in this spot because Musayev being as experienced as he is, number one, and number two, having the kind of accuracy and timing on his shots where we know Orolbai is one of those guys that's so confident in his chin that he ain't going to be moving his head. He's going to be like, yeah, hit me with your hardest shot. Let's see what you got. And that's not something you want to do against Musayev. So, yeah, there's concerns. Musayev hasn't fought in 2 years. It's his UFC debut. But they're also not making you lay minus 170 on it, plus 150, plus 145. And I bet on Rambetsky plus 275, plus 260 or something like that against Orolbai. It was a hell of a fight. But I think similar things can happen here. I think that Musayev can get off on some big damage. And I think that he's got the athleticism / takedown defense required to keep this on the feet for the most part. If he does get taken down, depending on how fatigued he is, I think if he's a little bit more on the fresher side, because he is like one of these explosive guys, right? I think he'll be able to pop back up. It's just kind of late in the fight. If like Myktybek Orolbai has eaten all his hardest shots and he's still walking forward, that could be a scenario where, Myktybek could kind of take over. But a takeover situation when we're dealing with a minus 175, I mean, I think you give me the dog here and we roll the dice. Not big. We don't go big because there's a lot of unknowns, just like a lot of questions, just like with a lot of these fights. But I still wouldn't mind getting involved on a 1-unit shot at Musayev plus 150. Just to keep the books honest and to keep Orolbai's striking defense honest, to be frank. And I do think Musayev is that good. Like I said, there aren't any more dues you need to pay. You fought the guys you need to fight. You've knocked out the UFC vets. You've done everything there is to do. Now you make your UFC debut, let alone in your home country. So I think it's a dog or pass situation. And I'm actually going to go ahead and pick the dog, Musayev, for the upset here. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Nazim Sadykhov. He's 10-1-1, taking on Nick Motta, who's 15-5. Currently, they got it. Nazim Sadykhov minus 440. The comeback on Nikolas Motta is plus 340. So both been around the same age. Nick Motta a year older at 32. The reach and the heights are virtually identical, as my boy Mike Goldberg used to say back in the day. The only thing that's not virtually identical is the odds. This ain't no pick 'em fight according to the books. But listen, I'm a big fan of Nazim Sadykhov, and I bet him against Terrence McKinney around minus 150 odds. And my thing with Nazim is he's a very talented guy. He hits hard. He's skilled everywhere. It's just he's a little overconfident, right? He gets a little cocky in there sometimes. He doesn't fight optimally. And I need him to fight optimally when we're talking about like a minus 400 price tag. And the thing with Nick Motta, it might not be the highest output in the world and he might have his flaws. But one thing about Nick Motta hits extremely hard, my friends. So that's what you got to look out for. But let me pull something up because I highly doubt that Nazim Sadykhov, has gotten hurt that bad in his UFC career. So let me just make sure he's never been dropped before. And I'm incorrect. He has been dropped by Evan Elder, but he actually came back and won that fight. Now, granted, he lost the first 2 rounds, but he was able to open up a cut in that 3rd round. So what this tells me is this guy can overcome some really bad spots, overcame some bad spots against Terrence McKinney, grabbing the fence or not. And then overcame some bad spots against Ismail Bonfim last fight. He was kind of getting teed off on a little bit. He got doubled up on strikes, but when it was his turn to land his damage, I mean, boy, did he do that. And he got the stoppage. So Nazim's a gamer. It's just you got to be careful. Do not get cocky when you're a minus 400 favorite against Nick Motta, because Nick Motta has nuclear capabilities in his overhand right and his left hook. So I definitely think Motta's got a puncher's chance. But if that doesn't happen, I see Nazim having too much output for him and the ability to mix things up. Not to mention, this hits the scorecards, and you might need some split decision insurance on this one, my friends. If you bet Nick Motta, nah, man. But I'm gonna go Nazim Sadykhov here for the win. If you're looking to get some action down at UFC Baku in Azerbaijan, my friends at Bet105 got a special offer for you. If you're looking to parlay 3 of the biggest favorites on the card, I'm talking about Oban, Elliott, Tagir Ulanbekov, and Curtis Blaydes. Right now, you're looking at a price of about plus 122, but my friends at Bet105 are going to boost that by 20%. Now, this parlay pays plus 146. Now, that's good enough, but you add a 4th leg to that, and you might be looking at a nice return. So definitely consider taking advantage of that. Now, we talk about it all the time. We're going to keep talking about it. Split decision insurance. Now, I got to thank Phil Rowe for getting that third round stoppage, because had that fight gone to the cards, I may have needed that split decision insurance. But thank God I didn't Saturday night. But let me tell you something now. These fights going down at Azerbaijan, do y'all know who the officials are going to be? Because I don't. And I know this is one of those cards where there might be some greasy splits. There might be some ridiculous home cooking. And we're in the part of the world where, not the exact country, but not too far from where that Carlos Leal versus Renat Fakhretdinov decision took place. So I'm just saying, definitely take advantage of split decision insurance. If you win the decision, no big deal. You get your money. It is what it is. But if you lose that split decision, Bet 105 are going to give you 25% of your money back. Hey, that's better than nothing, especially considering the state of modern day MMA judging. So, my friends, go to bet105.ag, use my promo code half the battle, deposit $100, and get a $50 free bet at Bet105 using my promo code half the battle. Now, let's get back to the show. So next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Muhammad Naimov. He's 12-3, taking on Bogdan Grad, who's 15-2 currently. They got it Naimov minus 270. The comeback on Bogdan Grad is plus 230. Heights, ages, and reaches are virtually identical. 70-inch reach, 5'9" height, 30 years old, give or take. This is an interesting one too, man, because like Naimov is kind of like more of a front runner in the sense that he comes out super explosive, spins, and like he tries to take guys out early. And man, if you saw his Contender Series fight against Colin Anglin, you would have thought, yeah, this guy's never going to pan out. So to see the progression in his game, it's truly been awesome to watch. And with Bogdan Grad, moves down to 45s, and he's one of these like gritty, attritional type fighters, takes that ass whooping up front, and you start to fatigue on a guy like Bogdan Grad, and he is going to put it on you late. The only thing about it is, while I do kind of think Naimov is a bit of a gasser, I still kind of think Naimov can get off to big enough of a lead to where like he does secure those first two rounds, possibly gets a finish along the way. But if he doesn't get a finish, secure those first two rounds and kind of coast in that third round, or even get your ass whooped in that third round and win that 29-28. So yeah, I'm going to lean with Naimov on this one, but I'm not crazy about the price. And Bogdan Grad has those kind of like comeback-esque qualities that you need to look out for. So just saying. But yeah, I'll pick Naimov pure pick, but like I don't know. I'm not sold on him as like a top prospect like a lot of people are. Like I said, y'all know when I have a top prospect. When I have a top prospect, I'm very vocal about it. Malcolm Wellmaker. But I mean, look what my top prospects do. Look what other people's top prospects do. So I'm just saying, man. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Oban Elliott. He's 12-2, taking on Mr. Ko, who's 11-2. Currently, they got it Oban minus 450. The comeback on Ko is plus 350. 6 feet tall, Oban Elliott, 5'10" for Ko, and Elliott is going to be 4 years younger at 27 years of age, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage in this spot. So we got the younger, taller, longer man, Oban Elliott, welcoming Ko to the UFC. And shout out to Ko, man, because he kind of reminds me of Stevie Ray, like an Asian Stevie Ray. But let me be very clear about what I mean by that. I don't mean the grappling side of things. I don't mean that like Ko is going to come out here and try to get like Scottish twisters and stuff like that. I mean like striking wise, from that stance with the kind of like slow, methodical striking style, but like educated, like reminds me of like Stevie Ray a little bit. I like Ko. You know, he's a tough cookie. But the thing about it is on the other side with Oban Elliott. Now, he might not be as technical standing, and he might have some flaws defensively, especially late in fights, but there's a certain thing about him, a certain confidence, a certain, like, he knows what his mission is, and he's not going to be stopped, man. And the best part of his game, oh my God, Oban Elliott has some very natural instincts for takedown defense. Some of the takedowns he defended against Preston Parsons, I was like, damn, like that was very, very impressive. You saw that knockout against Basil Hafez, and those kind of moments are only going to increase your confidence to that next level, because like you think about it and you're like, hey, JDM couldn't finish this guy. I did. And I know, like, for example, Phil Rose got to take confidence. Hey, JDM didn't finish Angelusa. You did, right? So with fighters, they take, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And those kind of things for your confidence is so important. So I like how they're moving up Elliott. Now, I think this is a little bit of a tricky matchup because Ko is not like the most like spectacular, but he's like very meat and potatoes, right? So Elliott's going to have to be locked in. He's going to have to be sharp here because this Ko guy isn't going to like do too many like dumb mistakes. He's not going to fight uncharacteristic. He's just going to have his technical meat and potato style, which might not be the most exciting, but it's effective. So Elliott's going to have to be all the way locked in because I felt like that fight he had with Ramiz that was supposed to happen. All you got to do there is survive the first round. You survive the first round there, you take over, whereas Elliott's going to have to be there for all 3 rounds unless he gets a finish, which I don't foresee happening. So I'm gonna go with Elliott to scrape by a decision here that might actually play out a little bit closer than the line indicates, but I'll still take Oban Elliott, the Welsh gangster, for the dub here. And next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Ismail Naurdiev, the Austrian wonder boy. He's Austrian and Moroccan, so this is true. But basically, this is a really interesting fight just from a matchmaking standpoint because like Park has paid more dues inside the octagon, but I feel like Park has like earned a step up in competition. But this seems like kind of a letdown spot, right? It's like you beat Brad Tavares. Hey, let's go ahead and like challenge for a top 15 spot. Now they're giving you this kid who just came back to the UFC for a second stint. He looked fucking fantastic against Bruno Blindado. Now I understand Bruno Silva has fallen on some hard times, but a big criticism people had for Naurdiev was that he's a bit of a front runner. He's fragile. His best work only comes early, then he fades, and that was 3 rounds of destruction. And it seemed like a big step in the right direction. I think the biggest thing that people forget about Naurdiev, I'm gonna pull this up right now, my friends, is that listen, I know I showed it on the tail of the tape, but I think people forget this guy's only 28 years old, man. He's just a kid. And like his first UFC stint, he was like 22, 23. He had no business there. And I know he's had some sketchy looks on his regional scene. Like, seems like the durability might be in question, but I've always thought the talent was there. And if the mental can catch up with the physical, I think this kid's a problem. And also, like I said, I think this might be like a low-key letdown spot because, like, again, Junyong Park should be on a big win streak right now. And let me explain what I mean. Officially, he's only on a 1-fight win streak, but that's because the Andre Muniz fight was one of the biggest robberies we've ever seen in all our years watching the sport. I mean, I don't even see the argument for Andre Muniz beating the Iron Turtle. But the reason I got to bring that up is because you're laying chalk here, and we've seen this guy get robbed before. Now you're fighting in Azerbaijan, and this fight is close, which Junyong Park fights at very close margins. Don't be surprised if you see an upset. And then one more thing I want to point out, because people talk about how Naurdiev is so fragile and stuff like that. Let's pull up what kind of damage Junyong Park has been dishing out throughout his career. So Junyong Park only has 1 UFC knockdown. That was against Albert Duraev. Besides that, he hasn't dropped anybody with hands whatsoever. Now he has taken down some lower level guys and ground and pound TKO them, but I'm just saying, like, when the big talking point is that Naurdiev's deficiency is, he's fragile, he ain't the toughest, it's like all these, you have to be able to dish out damage to get him to that point. Not to mention the kid, now he's 28, he's entering his prime, just got a big performance, his confidence might be increasing, so it might be rising. So look, yeah, sure, as a pure pick, yeah, I'll take the Iron Turtle, because of the experience, he's paid all those dues, but like, I think this is a letdown spot, man. I think that he earned a bigger step up in competition, and due to the fact that he doesn't fight at the widest of margins, I'm not going to be surprised one bit if Naurdiev gets an upset here. So I know people are max betting Park here, and I'd love to see Park win. Park's such a cool dude. He does his little dance when he wins fights, and like, yeah, I'm a fan of him. Like, he's not athletic, but he's gritty, and he gets all these wins. Like, you got to cheer for guys like that. But Naurdiev is explosive. Naurdiev does kick hard. Naurdiev's also been paying dues. Naurdiev's entering his prime. I don't know, man. I don't think this is the home run people think it is. Obviously, I'm willing to be proven wrong. And sure, yeah, I'll pick Park for the experience and whatnot. But like, I think it's a dog or pass situation, my friends. I really do. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a rematch between Melissa Mullins. She's 7-1, taking on Darya Zheleznyakova, who's 9-2. Melissa's 33. Darya's 29. Currently, they got it. Melissa minus 240. The comeback on Darya's Zheleznyakova plus 205. They both have 68-inch reaches. Darya's 2 inches taller at 5'9". So, my friends, the way that this fight went down the first time they matched up was kind of like this. They started off on the feet. Darya Zheleznyakova is absolutely teeing off on Melissa Mullins. It's looking like, damn, this is a mismatch on the feet. But then Melissa Mullins level changes, takes Darya down, and then finishes the fight shortly after. And it was like, oh, this is a mismatch on the ground. So here in the rematch, it's just about who's going to get the fight where they want it to be. Can Darya keep the standing, or is she going to get taken down and mauled? Because on the feet, I 100% think she has a chance, not only based on the success that she had previously, the first time they matched up, but look at, Melissa's fight against Cornole, man, like got teed off on and got TKO'd, so like if she can't get these takedowns, man, I think she's in deep, what. The question is, will she get these takedowns? So let's take a look at what Darya's been up to lately. So yeah, man, it's like, I will say this. To Darya's credit, she did stuff 50% of the takedowns against Eileen Perez. So like there's that. But it's like when you're fighting Montserrat Rendon and she takes you down 3 times, I just can't. Yeah, so I think I got to go Melissa Mullins on principle. Just take her down. And you're probably going to win the fight, but it's like on the feet, it's also a mismatch. And for whatever reason, Melissa can't get those takedowns. She's going to get lit up. So I'm going to pass on this one. I'll pick Melissa, but I am good on that, my friends. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between my girl Russian Ronda, Irina Alexieva. She is 5-2, taking on Claudia Segula, who's 6-2. Currently, they got it. Irina Alexieva minus 275. The comeback on Claudia Segula is plus 235. Both women are 5'8". Russian Ronda is 34 to Claudia Segula's 26. So 8 years elder, but also has a 7-inch reach advantage in this spot. Man, I'm a fan of Russian Ronda. Back when I was doing the Technique of the Week videos, I did one of her knee bar that she hit on Stephanie Edgar, and my girl Russian Ronda shared it. So I'm a fan for life for that. But the kind of issue I've had is that she seems to run out of ideas if the initial grappling storm doesn't work, and she kind of fades a bit in fights. And then on the other side with Segula, I kind of think Segula is just getting her feet wet and might be like a couple fights too early to be in her UFC career right now. So I'm still kind of taking notes on Segula, but although Russian Ronda has shown a susceptibility to fade late in fights, I actually think that when she gets Segula down, she might actually be able to finish the fight shortly after and not even have to worry about those late cardio dumps and, fading late or anything like that. So yeah, I think that I got to go with Russian Ronda here. It's just, at this price, I ain't laying no minus 275 on my girl Russian Ronda, but I obviously wish her the best and I hope she wins. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a banger between Tagir Ulanbekov. He's 16-2, taking on Azat Maxim, who's 15-1. Currently, they got it. Tagir Ulanbekov minus 450. The comeback on Azat Maxim is plus 350. Both men 5'7" with 70-inch reaches. Tagir Ulanbekov 3 years older at 33 years of age. And just to double check something real quick. So yeah, Azat Maxim hasn't fought since February 2024 against Charles Johnson. I actually bet him in that spot. He looked amazing in the first round, and then he just went into the Charles Johnson verse, the Energy verse, and yeah, had nothing left those last 2. But I still took away that, hey, this guy's a nice little prospect. Let's build him up the right way. So building him up the right way means let's give him, give him Ode Osborne, give him, one of these fringe guys, give him Matt Schnell. But like, hey, buddy, here's Tagir Ulanbekov, and it's like in your 3rd UFC fight. And I'm not saying it can't be competitive, but what I am saying is that like Tagir, I know he doesn't have the recognition he deserves because he barely fights, but he's like a top 5 talent. He is legit as hell, man. And I think that the early going will be competitive, but Tagir's vet experience is going to take him over those second and third rounds. It's just, are you trying to pay a price like this? I'm not, because I actually do think Azat Maxim is that talented, is that good to where you take a shot like this, you know, a 1 unit shot, a half unit shot, and hope that this is a bit of a letdown spot. Maybe Tagir had a bad weight cut because he is fucking massive with that weight class. Trust me, I know this. But yeah, I mean, I got to go to Gear here. I think he's the better fighter. I think he's the one closer to the title. I think that if he just gets a little consistency, he can be up there with the Manel Caps and all these guys that are in line to fight Pantoja. But this is a risky fight, so you got to be careful, especially at odds like this. But pure pick, I'm gonna go to Gear Ulanbekov to win this fight. And last but not least, in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Mohammed Usman. He's 10-4, taking on Hamdi Abdelwahab, who's 4-0 currently. They got it. Hamdi Abdelwahab minus 155. The comeback on Mohammed Usman is plus 135. Both men 6'2". Usman is 36 to Abdelwahab's 32. And Usman is going to have a 6-inch reach advantage at 79 inches. So, man, this should be a fun little sloppy heavyweight fight to get the night started. And I got to give this dude Hamdi a lot of credit, man. You know, he's an Egyptian Olympian. The dude knows how to win. Like, even in fights where you think that, like, oh, now he's starting to gas. Oh, he just got rocked. Oh, this fight could go either way. He just finds a way to pull it off. And you got to admire that quality in a fighter. And with Mo Usman, I don't think he's as bad as people think. Yeah, obviously he ain't as good as his brother, but you know, for like a fat heavyweight, I think he's serviceable. Hey, shout out to former NFC heavyweight champion Brandon Sales. I remember when he beat Mo Usman, but nah, all that aside, man, I think Mo's a gamer. I think he's a competitor. I kind of low-key thought he beat Mick Parkin a few fights ago, man. And yeah, so I've been enjoying his progression. Slower than I would like, but better than nothing. But here, I just see this being an evenly matched fight. And in cases like that, give me royalty. Give me the guy who, after this fight, who are the sheiks going to want to hang out with? The Egyptian Olympian or Usman's bro that, you know, or I don't want to be mean, but you know how there's the good brother and the shitty brother. Yeah, I think they're gonna want to be. I think they're gonna want to be taking pictures with Hamdi Abdelwahab and Kamaru. You know, and maybe we'll fit Mo in there if we can. But nah, man, I just think that the wrestling is gonna kind of cancel itself out, and I don't see too big of a volume edge on either side. So I just see this being a competitive cage pushing fight, a moment here and there, and you know, one of these fat heavyweight type fights, like all these guys fights. But give me the guy with connections in the Middle East, and that's Hamdi Abdelwahab. So I'm gonna go with him for the win here. My friends, we did it. It's going down this Saturday afternoon for us at Baku, Azerbaijan. But I want to say one thing, man. I want to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you to all the listeners, fans, and supporters of Half the Battle for all the love you showed me for episode 600 of Half the Battle. It truly meant a lot to me. And y'all know that show was not easy to make with all the guests, but you know, just letting me know how much, you know, you guys appreciated it and that y'all truly enjoyed the show. And that just means so much to me that y'all got my back, and just know the feeling's mutual, and I got yours as well. And yeah, man, again, I'm down to interact with anyone that has my back. Y'all know where to follow me. Best Fight Picks on Twitter, Half the Battle Pod on Instagram, Half the Battle Podcast on TikTok. Shout out Malcolm the Machine Wellmaker, Georgia's best prospect, getting it done again. And I can't wait to see him get his well-deserved step up in competition, assuming that the opponents say yes to the fight. And then I wanted to talk about the Cody Durden fight. You know, what did I say in my breakdown before that? I said, Cody, you're a state champion wrestler. You don't have to stand and bang in the pocket with everyone. I feel like Cody, wants to be like Justin Gaethje or something, which, hey, as fans, we love it, because being that I was at UFC Atlanta, the only exciting fights on the card were the Rowe fight, the Durden fight, and the Wellmaker fight. Besides that, it was kind of a stinker. So yeah, Cody puts on the fights the fans want to see, but it's like, bro, like, you're allowed to like mix it up. And the thing that was unfortunate was, so in that first round, I gotta admit, Ochoa was really getting off. Ochoa was finding his range. They were banging in the pocket, but it seemed like towards the end of the first round, Cody caught him with a big shot, hurt him, gets on top of him, and it's like, okay, now the momentum is shifted. Took his best shot. Now we're about to vet lesson this kid. And between rounds, like, Cody's like signaling to the crowd, like all this. I'm like, bro, like, you don't have to be Justin Gaethje. Like, just relax, just calm down. You don't have to get so excited, man. And then a couple seconds into round 2, he gets caught. And it's just, listen, man, the Tagir fight and the Josh Van fight, there's nothing you could have done differently. Those guys are just straight up better than Cody Durden. But like, I felt like he could have won this fight. So anyways, after the fight, Cody comes back to our suite and he's like, man, I'm sorry. I'm like, bro, you got nothing to be sorry for. No one booed your fight. Everyone loved your fight. You went out there, you fought like a man. Win like a man, lose like a man. You always fight with your balls, and you always put on the kinds of fights the fans want to see. But what I told him was like, dude, you just got too excited between rounds, man. Like let's chill out a little bit, man. Like, again, you don't have to be Justin Gaethje. You're a state champion wrestler, bro. Like, let's use that, you know? So it's just so frustrating because I know he could have won that fight. It was what it was. So big shout out to Ochoa on that. Shout out to both Ochoa and Durden for putting on one of the best fights of the night. Shout out Phil Rowe and Ange Lusa. And of course, Malcolm the Machine Wellmaker. You love to see what he did. So again, big shout out to all the fans that have my back, even the ones that don't have my back. It's all good. I love y'all as well. I got to hang out with Hey Jive Picks, with Kyle Marley, had my best friend in the suite, even brought my dad in the suite for Father's Day, man. So yeah, I had a great time, all things considered. After the fight, we went to the Fighter Hotel and we saw Malcolm there. Malcolm took pictures with all my friends. Like, he's such a cool dude. It was great to see him there. And then recently, you know, me and my boy Meticulous have been just dropping the content. And Ariel Helwani shared one of the videos we made about Malcolm, and he gave credit to the wrong guy. I'm like, bro, you're the 14-time journalist of the year. Like, you can't like give us credit for our video, but we do appreciate you sharing it. But just like give credit to the right guy, you know? So if y'all see Ariel sharing that video, make sure you tell him to give credit to Meticulous and Best Fight Picks, because that's a half the battle exclusive video. Now, all that being said, I'm so grateful for you guys. I'll be back next week for International Fight Week. Got 2 guests booked for that. So I look forward to speaking with you all then. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.